And the consequence of Syria, listen, even today I heard on the news that we have sent 400 military personnel to train the Syrian rebels. The Hegelian dialect Dan was talking about. Under the Hegelian dialect, there is a cause, a reason that we sent them there that is said, and that is to fight ISIS. We want to train the Syrian rebels, think about this, to fight ISIS. But in reality, the synthesis that we want is Assad removed. Why? He's going to dump the petrodollar. He already did. He is going to allow Russia to channel their oil through Syria to China without using the US dollar to purchase it. Folks, the message that you've been getting from me is so relevant to what's getting ready to happen in this country. I would be remiss as my responsibility to stand before you, and I couldn't continue to stand before you if I didn't tell you what I think about this. This fellow had an ominous tone to his voice, but his message is more ominous. What I have said before is the Tea Party is uniquely positioned, and Dan's going to come in a minute with a small message in closing. We're uniquely positioned from this ashes of the dollar default to be the guardians of the new phoenix that rises out of the ashes of the dollar default. Think about what that means. The Tea Party has fought and clawed for influence and effectiveness across this country. We stand as a body politic that can be the guardians of the remedy or the phoenix that rises out of these ashes. I talked about that $250 billion of derivatives. That's going to hit the banks, and we're going to be responsible for it. There is only one remedy. It's bankruptcy. Remember I said it's like castor oil, it tastes bad, but it's good for you. Bankruptcy gives families a new start. Well, the country's going to have a new start, but what new start, what phoenix will it be? Will it be a global currency, like this man was talking about? A global governance? How about a global religion, which Islam is trying to be very much? What about a global currency? They have to kill the dollar in order to have a global currency. That's why I speak about the 10 circles of 10, because what's going to happen is bartering. What's going to happen is a storehouse that you can go to get your essentials. That is going to be a natural thing that happens, and you do not have to worry about planning it. Because when you need, and I have something for your need, you're going to get it from a friend. And there's going to be 10 people that you know. There will be a circle of 10, and there will be 10 of those circles, and that will happen. Be like the Depression era. Because if we're talking about this happening, and there is no clear-thinking person can say absolutely this will not happen. The Democrats are willing to suspend their disbelief, like Hillary said, a willing suspension of disbelief. They're willing to say, nah, we're going to be able to crank that debt machine out, and that Federal Reserve is, we're going to remember the guy said monetize the debt? We're going to keep spending the money, and the Federal Reserve is just going to monetize it. What monetizing the debt is creating a treasury bill that somebody will buy. You see, the reason we can monetize that debt is because we had those OPEC nations purchasing our debt, the treasury bills, because they were selling oil in US dollars only, the petrodollar, and the profits they made, they were required to buy our debt. Not so anymore, folks. And the Democrats don't realize it because they're willing to suspend their disbelief. They ignore the fact. That's why I call them ignorant. But you know what? We are too. Not us. But Republicans who only care to get people elected are ignoring this thing that you folks heard tonight, and hear often when you come to this caucus. We talked about abiotic oil. We've talked about it for how long? The consequence of that corrupt bargain is it was a good deal until they found out that oil is plentiful. The Keystone Pipeline and all of those things that, the private producers have made this country the #1 oil producer in the world. Government only restricts government lands from producing oil. If we didn't have that restriction on government land, the price of gasoline right now, folks, would be 90 cents a gallon. If we was to just produce like they can, if there was no government restrictions, if the EPA didn't have, if all of that stuff, I say, is in a conspiracy with keeping the price of oil up, because when they find out it's abiotic and plentiful, the price of oil goes down and nations fall. We are built, our economic thesis is built on the price of oil being high. So when you get $1 a gallon for gasoline, and you're going to get it, but you're really going to get it, because it's not a good thing. It seems good. It's $2 a gallon seems really nice. $1.98 or whatever. I saw some $1.66 the other day. That's really nice, because I can take that other $30 it takes to fill that old truck of mine up and buy my wife something nice. I didn't do that. I probably should have. But anyway, it feels nice. It feels good that you don't have to spend that money on oil, but it's not a good thing on gasoline. It's not the reason that it's coming down. It's like castor oil. Eventually, and let me close my comments with this. This is a shining city on the hill, as Reagan said. God put oceans on each side of this land, and they are the best friends to the economy of this country, that we can rebuild an economy because Genghis Khan cannot reach us. Yeah, I know technology, they can mail it, they can email it, but you know what? The fact of the matter is that we have some insulation from this, and this country has been good over the years because empires could be protected. And those oceans still, if we use them right, if we become the guardians of that new phoenix that rises out of the ashes of the default, if it could be a philosophy that uses the insulation of those oceans to create a new economy here, if that new dollar that we guard to be installed becomes a national currency instead of an international currency, which is what they want to do. That's what Russia and China are conspiring to do, what this fellow talked about. We can't have that being the currency. It will enslave us. And we are using a bad relationship. We are being abused by a bad relationship with Islam. And we can't even call a spade when it comes to what Islam is, for fear of offending them, and because if they get too angry, will dump our dollar. So we are compromised in what we can do in the leadership of this country. We have congressmen like Kerry Bentivolio who are sent home and says, we don't need you anymore because you won't play ball with us when it comes time, because we know the cloth you are cut from. Is that what we're dealing with? I say it is. And I say it becomes very obvious to us. And I say the numbers in this caucus, Dan and I were talking about how can we get more people. But I'd say the number in this caucus will increase when this message starts coming home to roost, because I'm not going to get off of this message. You know, I talked about before about 3 reasons to keep talking about this, and they being Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi. You know what? That is true, because why Benghazi happened is everything that we've talked about tonight. That's why Benghazi happened. Because Syria wants to dump the dollar, and we tried to arm the rebels in Syria under the notion of fighting this Wahhabism and their kindred battle between Islam, between the Shias and the Sunnis, because the Shias worship Muhammad as a person they pray to, and the Sunnis, the Wahhabis, wants to kill the Shias. That's what's really happening in there. That's what ISIS is all about. They're shirks. But under that Hegelian dialect, the thesis, synthesis, antithesis, we will go in the notion of fighting ISIS to take down and kill Assad so we can protect that petrodollar. We better wise up, and I think we will, and I think people will come to understand that this is rising to a higher level than just getting Republicans elected. It's a good thing. I respect people's effort. But there are folks who don't come to this caucus now because this message doesn't rise to the level. It's going to rise. We can take some questions, but Dan's going to have closing remarks. We have a Louis Gomart. Let's see. 10:35. I can play the Louis Gomart. Go ahead, Dan.
Obama course, is knocking back the Keystone. See if this is true. Not only does he do it to help his environmental friends, but also because he wants to keep the stability in the whole worldwide oil picture like you're talking about. 2 reasons.
Yeah, and it's not him. Yeah, what you're saying is true. They don't want that oil flowing. They say, well, it's not coming to America. You know what, America, we produce all the oil we need. We don't need the oil produce. We're the #1 exporters of oil. We're the #1 producers of oil in the world. Why does it matter if that oil goes to another market? We don't need the oil. What you say is so. Because that oil hits the market, price of oil comes down. Because it's economics. The more you got, the less it costs. The more you can, the less you get for it.
So you say Obama is doing what he can do to protect the petrodollar, but yet he's
Same as Bush did.
but yet he's perpetuating the crash of our dollar? I don't understand that.
But see, the little Dutch boy putting his finger in the dike, they want to extend this till they're positioned with world governance. Obama wants to be Islam friendly because he is Islam, as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wants us to be Islam friendly because he is Islam. Obama doesn't want the petrodollar to collapse right now, but make no mistake about it, he wants his country to collapse. He does want that. But the world international bankers who, pardon me for using the Jewish word, they happen to be Jewish. The international bankers have, because they're well funded, they do know how to handle money, and these bankers know what's coming. And they know that this dollar is going to collapse, and they know that they want to be able to be positioned to handle it. That's why the delay. That's why they want to push it down the road a little bit. That petrodollar, that's why we just do not want our economy collapsing right now.
Well, my biggest fear is that he's going to try to orchestrate this, the fall of our dollar, before the next election. I got a real big fear that's a very real possibility. And after the ensuing mayhem, that's going to give him every reason to institute martial law.
It may be a plan.
And in regards to that, I think we better start coordinating right now our 10 friends, the 10 friends in our circle. Because if we wait till after that, it's a little too late.
Oh, it makes good sense. Just remember the 10 circles of 10. That's how you want to refer to that. And then that causes people to think through it. Who will your 10 people be? Okay.
Why is Saudi's King Fahd and the Saudi royal family, why do they control OPEC? Why do they have the spigots on full and they know that they're destroying Russia's economy?
It's a degenerating cycle. They do want Syria and Russia alliance destroyed because Russia competes with them in oil production. But it's a degenerating spiral. The more they pump, the less the dollars, right? The less they get for it. And the less dollars they get, the more they need. The less they get per barrel, they still need the same amount of dollars in their economy too. So as America started pumping, as we started drill Sarah Palin, thank you. As we became the largest producer of oil in the world, that oil glut, the reason we capped the oil spill, which was actually an oil spew in the Gulf, they didn't want that to be known that it's abiotic. The word abiotic is very, very important. There's more oil than we know what to do with. It's naturally replenished, and that dirty little secret they do not want out because Saudi Arabia, the question you had, they can't change that.
Is this for follow up with that? But is this because is this to get back at Putin for going?
No, it's a matter of survival. They don't like Putin. They don't like Syria. They don't like China.
Okay.
Russia is competing with the Saudi oil. And this is what the Afghanistan war was about, folks. Russia wanted to use that 40,000 deep well that they knew how to do back during that first Afghanistan war, where we sided with Mujahideen, bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, what became Al-Qaeda. We sided with them to overthrow Russia. There was only one reason we didn't want Russia pumping that 40,000 foot deep oil, which was, now remember what I said? Scientists prove, unrefutable, there has never been a fossil deeper than 15,000 feet. So how is it that Russia, back during the Afghanistan war in the Caspian Sea basin, was pumping oil from 40,000 foot deep, and they wanted to go through Afghanistan, through Pakistan, to the ports, warm water ports, to get that oil to China? That's what was going on. That's the reason we blocked that, and we had oil companies involved that had interest in it, but we couldn't get the Taliban to provide security for that pipeline. That was the oil companies dogging that race. But the geoeconomics of it was that we did not want Russia to sell China oil without using the U.S. dollar. It goes back that far. The petrodollar had every aspect on our foreign policy, even back then, even to Iraq. And that's what's happening in Syria right now. That's what the fellow was talking about. Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions, and I have another question here. A number of years ago, there was one of the Rambo movies Sylvester Stallone made, and it was about him going into the Middle East to rescue his mentor, and he took on the whole Russian army all by himself. But in the movie, the movie seemed to portray a warming up attitude by Hollywood, because of the way they presented the movie, that we should identify more with the Mujahideen. And so we can see the attitude of Hollywood today, that they're pro-Islamic, basically. They're afraid to take them on even more so than our president is. But the other question I have for you is, inquiring minds want to know, I think somewhere inside of me is a desire to be an investigative reporter. Because my question is this: who made that tape, and who is the individual organization behind it that we just heard?
Well, I'm going to give you a very illustrious answer. I don't know. What I know is I got it off YouTube. What I did is Google the petrodollar demise of the currency crash. And I listened to what he had to say. I'm sorry, Dick. I listened. Dan asked a good question. It's where did that come from? It doesn't matter where it comes from. You hear what he said and you prove it. You get on, because it's serious enough to where you need to find out, because it's what I've been saying, and I've been saying it before I heard the man. Before I heard that man, I've been saying these things. So you do your own research about it, because it's your future we're talking about, Dick.
Every Saturday in America on the radio, the current president, whoever, gives a 30-minute, whatever, 15-minute speech, I think. And there's always a response by the other party. Tomorrow, the person doing the opposition is that pig farmer lady, ex-soldier, I forget her name. Ernst, yes, is going to give the response tomorrow, and someone who reported this, I think on the talkers on the radio, says she is the perfect vice presidential